Hello and welcome back to Overseas Auto Reviews. Today I have this 2020 Mustang GT Premium to review at Dwayne Lane's Ford and Lincoln of Skagit. Now let's break this car down and complete a review. Starting up front with the 2020 Mustang GT Premium, the first thing I noticed was the nice aggressive looking headlights. They're wider on the end and narrow on the center, which gives them a nice aggressive approach, which you would want in a Mustang, especially the GT variant. One cool thing about the Mustang is that there is literally a Mustang imprinted on the side of the headlight. It's a nice attention to detail from Ford. The center features a nice wide gloss black grille with a chrome Mustang galloping away. The lower portion does not have a gloss black, but it has a matte black intake to feed the 5-liter V8 of the engine. The lower portion also has a matte splitter, which looks nice, and luckily it's pretty high off the ground, which means you won't have to worry about scratching it. The hood also has 2 extraction vents to provide cooling for the V8 engine, which does sound pretty good. Let's move on to the engine bay. Underneath the hood of the 2020 Mustang GT Premium, you will find the 5-liter naturally aspirated V8 engine, which produces 460 horsepower and 420 foot-pounds of torque. Those numbers, with the aid of the 10-speed automatic transmission, will get you to 60 in just 4.2 seconds with the rear-wheel drive drivetrain as well. Now, the 10-speed automatic is an option which is $1,595. This car comes standard with a 6-speed manual transmission, which does give you auto rev matching and a dual mass flywheel, which could come in handy. One thing I did not like about this hood is that it's not hydraulic, which means that you have this hood strut over here, which you have to take apart yourself. Should have just left it with the SY97, but maybe the hydraulics just stop working once you hit a crowd. Oh well. Here we have the 20 by 9 inch premium painted aluminum wheels. These are not standard because they will run you around $1,300 if you do want them. Now, with the premium group, since this is a Mustang GT Premium, you have 14-inch front rotors and 13-inch rear rotors. Hopefully you'll use them while exiting a car show. On the side of the Mustang GT, I've got to say it's a quite beautiful vehicle. The hood is elongated, which gives it a nice presence, and the doors are long as well, but the rear is relatively short with a flat top, giving it a wider approach on the road. I do quite like that. The 5.0 badge right here distinguishes it from the 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder variants, proving to you that you have the V8 and the king of all Mustangs. Like they say, 5.0 or no go. That's how it should be, especially when you're buying a Mustang. One thing I also liked about the car is that the offset on the wheels is pretty good. Most manufacturers leave the wheels too far inside, giving it a weird gimpish look. I do like that it's nice over here. We also have these body colored mirrors, which don't stick out too far from the car, keeping it nice and flush. They do look good. The paint color on this vehicle is Oxford white. Preferably I'd go with a black, but it's a Mustang and you're the buyer, so choose whatever color you wish. This is Oxford white if you do like this color. We also have multiple body lines running across in through the doors. They look good. This vehicle also has frameless windows, so when I do open the door, they pop down a bit, close it back up, and it goes right back. This also has keyless entry, so if I have the key in my pocket, all I have to do is push the ridges on the door handle. The car locks. I want to open it. Slide your hand in and out. Simple as that. Now let's talk about fuel economy, and then let's go on to the back. Fuel economy, which is always the funnest aspect of the review, especially when reviewing a V8. Nevertheless, this vehicle gets 15 in the city and 24 on the highway. Not too bad from a V8. Now, an illustration on the left side of the fuel area also tells you to use a nozzle when using a portable fuel tank. I'm pretty sure that's probably for race gas, but oh well. Moving on to the rear of the Mustang GT Premium, it's still the most distinguishable part of the car itself. Even though we don't have any pony badges here, since this isn't the 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, this is the Mustang GT with the V8, which is the second distinguishable part of the car, along with the 5.0 badges on the fenders. Speaking of the 5-liter V8, this car also has a quad exhaust which is active. There is an actuator in the exhaust which is electronically controlled by a computer. Once you pop it into Sport Plus mode or track mode, the valves open up and the car is that much louder. It's very nice and pleasurable to the ears. Now on the bottom we also have a flat black diffuser with the reverse light here. I don't like it too much. I think it's too much plastic on the rear. We also have this nice piano black piece which has the GT badge and these very beautiful tail lights. One thing I've loved about the Mustang, especially over the previous generations, is the way that the turn signals look. They go inner towards the outside. I do like it. It's quite mesmerizing in fact to watch them illuminate. On the upper portion we have this little spoiler. It's included with the premium group. It's not too big, so it's probably not functional, but it still looks okay regardless. Now one thing I didn't like at all about the trunk is that I can't really find any way to open it without having to use the key fob, and the key fob itself has some issues which I will explain a bit later. But you press the button twice to open the trunk. Once it's open you have to lift it up, and this is hydraulically controlled, but the hood isn't. Okay, it's a relatively narrow space to get inside, so trunk test will be a bit difficult. So I'll give you a arm and head test. It's a pass. It's not too good of a trunk in terms of entrance space, but a trunk's a trunk, and it's still a dailyable vehicle since the trunk isn't too small, considering the car also has some baby rear seats. I'll show you those in a bit. The thing I didn't like about the key is that the panic button is right next to the trunk button, so if you want to open the trunk but mistake it for the other button, you're going to end up putting the car into panic mode. Now, as much as I dread rear seats on coupes, I guess I'll have to show them to you, so let's do that now. There are two ways you can do this. Either when you're inside you have this little latch on the back of the backrest, or you have this little back seat adjustment. You pull this, the front comes up. Now all you have to do is use the electronic seat adjustment to move it all the way up, which will take a long time. Now once it is fully extended, you can climb in very carefully. Watch your head if you're on the taller side, and you'll just slide back into the seat. Now the back latch on this is quite difficult to use, so I'll just not play with it since it's plastic and I don't want to break it, because well, it's not my car. First thing I noticed when sitting back here is that my head is touching the rear windshield. If you sit on the left side, there is literally no space between the back of the seat and the back of this seat as well. So rear seat room is essentially non-existent. This is a coupe, so I can't really say much about it. They should have just made the trunk bigger. Oh well. We also have this plastic padding on the side, plastic armrests, and all the such to go with it. We do have coat hooks here, which can be useful if you're just a couple or just own it yourself. Let's move on to the front. Here we are in the driver's side of the 2020 Mustang GT Premium. Let's start off with the door panel. We have a leather panel, which I do like quite a lot. It's leather and it has white stitching. Gives it a nice classier look to what this rugged and obnoxious car is. We also have chrome handles, which I don't like because chrome is chrome and it doesn't look too good, especially in contrast with black. But it's there. We also have this interestingly functioning door handle. It functions because the door opens, so that is that. We also have our memory seat settings with the door unlock and lock buttons. We also have a large speaker over here. This vehicle has the $995 option, which gives us the Bang & Olufsen sound system to add some class and opulence to the car. I don't know if you'd want that, but if you do, go ahead and spend $995 on a speaker system. We also have our window switches for both sides and the mirror adjustments on this side as well. On the top left, we have the light controls, which do look good, and all of the such to go with it. The turn signal stock is shaped very nicely. It has lots of angles and the illustrations are very clear to read. This vehicle has the Ford Safety Plus package, which is around $1,000. It gives us adaptive cruise control. The settings for that are here as well on the left side of the steering wheel. Those are set from here. Speaking of the steering wheel, we have a large and relatively thin steering wheel, especially compared to the Dodge Charger and Challenger Scat Packs. This is a thinner wheel, but it looks nicer because it's concave with the pony jumping around in the center. There is also chrome on the wheel as well, which I'm not a fan of, but you can always change the steering wheel or wrap these pieces if you'd like. On the right side we have our basic functions and our call functions over here with the drive mode select system as well. I don't like these interestingly shaped and flat and small paddle shifters. They feel cheap, and that's also an issue throughout this vehicle, is that the interior pieces, except from the start stop button and the drive mode select system, they all feel cheap. But judging by the price of the car, I don't think that's really much of an issue, because when you're paying $45,000 for a muscle car, you want a good engine, you want rear-wheel drive, you want a good sound, and that's what you're getting. All the interior pieces are just add-ons and luxuries. One thing I like about the Mustang's interior, it's not much of a feature, but it's nice and cool, is that when you press your foot on the brake, as you can see, my foot is on the brake, the start-stop button illuminates with a green light. So if I let off, I'll turn off, put a pressure again, it'll light back up. It's quite nice. Another thing to note about the interior of the Mustang is that the parking brake is a manual one. There's none in the footwell, so handbrake turns may be possible. Alright, let's talk about the drive mode select system. It's relatively simple. You push it down and plop it into the gear you'd like. Now we also have a motion sense, which you can see from right here, and the relatively bad quality reverse camera. This could definitely be upscaled in the newer Mustangs, and well, the Mark E as well. Brake is engaged, so that's why it's beeping. Press OK to dismiss it. Let's put the car back into park. Let me show you the drive mode controls, which is this lever right here. Feels relatively cheap, but press it up. You can see in our instrument cluster, it changes the drive modes, and it changes the gauges with it as well. They change like that. It also changes the exhaust tone with the valved exhaust. Keep in mind that this button does not go down, it can only go up to change the settings. Now, another thing is this traction control off button, which I think should be renamed to crowd control. Either have it on or off. And here we also have the hazard lights, an interesting place, but I kind of like it. These buttons over here do feel pretty cheap. I do not like that part about the interior. This vehicle also comes with navigation, as you can see. We also have these climate vents on the top. They make an interesting noise when you rotate them, and they're pretty easy to use, self-explanatory that is. I also have the radio button, which changes the radio station, and the volume button playing white noise right now. This vehicle has the premium group, as is the GT Premium, so we get the leather seats with heated and cooled settings as well. Overall, I like the interior, as it is a relatively affordable performance vehicle, and that's what you're paying for. It's not really much of a luxury car. If you want a luxury coupe, you're gonna have to go and buy a Lexus LC500 or some sort of Mercedes and pay an extra $20,000 to $50,000 on top of those numbers. So based on what this car is, I think it's a great car. Let me take you on a drive and show you how it performs in its best habitat.
Here we are driving the 2020 Mustang. First thing to note about the car is the exhaust note. This was in Sports Plus mode and sounds very nice, has good tone. The 5-liter in general sounds pretty good. Entering onto the freeway will give you a brief acceleration, nothing too major. Something to note is that in Sports Plus mode, the Mustang does like to hold out its gears. For a car, the Mustang does seem to have a bit too much noise for my taste in terms of tire, engine, and wind noise combined. The suspension on this car is relatively stiff, but it's not as stiff as a Dodge Challenger Scat Pack. I do like the stiffness of suspension, especially in a car of this segment, but it's a Mustang, which is shorter and lighter than a Challenger, so it's your choice. In terms of driving, the Mustang didn't disappoint. It handles well, has good power delivery, and overall is a good car. The only thing I didn't like is the interior build quality, but it's an American car which is focused on performance. That's pretty much inevitable. The first car I'm comparing is the 2020 Dodge Challenger Scat Pack Widebody. I'm doing the widebody because the GT Premium has the same price of the widebody on top of the price of the Scat Pack. So, as a whole package, I believe the Scat Pack is a better route to go because of the wheels, the sound, and just the overall looks and interior build quality. The second car would be the 2020 Chevrolet Camaro SS with the 6.2 liter engine option. Personally, I don't like the look of the Camaro from the front or the rear with this new refresh, but it does have a 6.2, which is larger than the Mustang's engine, and it may sound better. Rear view visibility on the Camaro isn't as good, however.
And that is the complete review on the 2020 Mustang GT Premium. Now let's talk about the price. This vehicle here has been spec'd out to $48,425, which is around $8,000 in options. That for a vehicle of this spec and this engine is not too bad, considering that the Scat Pack Charger and Challenger run for about the same price as well. In the end, I think you are getting a great vehicle with great build quality, except for some of the interior pieces. But that's all subjective because it's rear-wheel drive and has a good drivetrain. This vehicle can also be daily driven. It's got a 10-speed automatic, which can also be configured with a 6-speed manual if you want to have a bit more fun. Fuel economy is pretty good on the highway, and that should not be a concern for you if you are daily driving the vehicle. The trunk is also relatively large, so if you do want to daily drive it, it is possible. It's not too low as well. That is all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next review. Keep on driving.